Hey guys, welcome back, and today we're going to continue to look over and rank different safehouse options against each other. But before we hop into it, I want to shuffle some things up and re-rank some locations from the last video. Also, I will be going into detail on some of the locations from the Tales from the Far Territory expansion, so if you wish to remain spoiler-free, then use the video bookmarked to skip these safehouse locations. First off, there are a lot of safehouse options in this game, but I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. So, ranking all of them would not only take forever, but result in a tier list so incomprehensible that there would be no point in making it in the first place. So I've got some new ground rules to put in place. First, we'll be looking over a maximum of 3 safe houses per region. The second rule is that transition regions can have up to 1 spot on the tier list, but not all transition regions will have a valid spot for a safe house, so some transition regions may not appear at all on this tier list. And finally, a special rule. Each region will get a 4th safehouse location that is more of a joke than a serious spot. And those joke locations will be picked from you guys. If you have a funny idea for a safehouse that you want included on this tier list, then comment below and I will pick my favorite to include. Now, there are only 2 rules for suggesting these. First off, the location that the region is in has to be one that doesn't already have a joke suggestion. The second rule is that the location must be able to, in theory, function as an actual safehouse. So you can't suggest, in the middle of a weak ice patch in Forlorn Muskeg. For an example of what you could choose, I'll reveal today's pick and who picked it. Typically this will be a surprise kept for the end of the video, but I'm going to say this one here just to help you guys get an idea of what you can suggest. Today's pick comes from Player281, and it's the tail section in Timberwolf Mountain. You can theoretically make a safe house there, lots of supplies, resources, wind protection, yada yada, but no one in their right mind would do it. Hopefully that all makes sense. So, with that said, hit me with your silliest suggestions and mayhaps you'll be chosen for the next one. I'm also going to revise a couple things about the previous rankings because you all let me know that I was completely unaware of the fact that there's a milling machine in Blackrock. So there's a couple of the other safehouse locations that are going to get their crafting accessibility rankings changed up from the last video. But before we do that, let's refresh on how these rankings work. Each safehouse will be ranked from 1 to 10 in the following categories: direct resource accessibility, resources throughout the region and of easy access to the safe house; indoor utilities, whether the safe house contains things like beds, storage, fireplace; location within the world, how easily the rest of Great Bear regions can be accessed from the safe house; and crafting accessibility, how many crafting methods are easily accessible from this safe house. There are up to 40 points available, and the tiers will be divided as such: F tier 0 to 5 points, D tier 6 to 10, C 11 to 20, B 21 to 30, A 31 to 35, and S 36 to 40. Okay, first off is the revisions. Having a milling machine in Blackrock puts the Mountaineer's Hut and Angler's Den's crafting accessibility scores in a much better spot. Both Ash Canyon and Timberwolf Mountain are far closer to Blackrock than Bleak Inlet, so any safe houses in those regions will want to look towards Blackrock for milling machine and ammo workbench needs. Mountaineers initially got a 4 for crafting accessibility. It's going to be promoted up to a 7, but no higher since it's still very far away from any forge or trading. Similarly, Angler's Den will be bumped up as well, but for some reason I gave Angler's Den a higher crafting accessibility score than Mountaineers in the last video, which is definitely wrong. So it'll be getting moved to a 6 to be 1 behind Mountaineers. After those changes, Angler's Den moves from a 15 to 16, standing firm in its spot in the C tier, and Mountaineers moves from a 20 to 23 points, scraping its way out of C tier and into the B tier, and tying with Misanthrope's Homestead. We're going to be bumping it below Misanthrope's though, because the direct access to trade, nearby forge, and beachcombing opportunities makes it so that Mountaineer's Hut really just can't compete. Now on to new additions, and the first up is the Mystery Lake Forestry Lookout. A quiet, beautiful spot that overlooks the entirety of the lake below. It has no loading screen to access, and quite a stunning view. Direct resources will pretty much be the same as the camp office and trappers, but due to the fact that you have to climb an annoyingly windy path to access the lookout, it makes accessing resources in the region take longer and feel more tedious. So it's going to score 1 below trappers in this regard and land itself at a 7. Indoor utilities is pretty decent for this one. It has a 2-slot stove, which is good, as well as a bed. But the indoor space is pretty small. It's very scarce on storage capacity, and it doesn't have a lot of room for customization. The lookout will get a 7 here. World location is very simple for this spot. It may be a little tedious to get up to the safe house, but it's still positioned right in the center of Great Bear's centermost region. So, just like the camp office, it'll be getting a 10. For crafting accessibility, we're going to again use the camp office as a reference. The lookout will be just as close to forges, milling machines, and ammo benches as the office. but it does lack its own workbench, so it's going to fall behind the office's 8 and land itself with a 6 in crafting availability. All in all, this location got 29 points, landing it ahead of the hunting lodge in the B tier. The next 2 locations we're going to cover are from the Tales from the Far Territory expansion, so use those timestamps to skip over these if you want to remain blind to them. Next up is the Transfer Pass Vacant Depot. This is a very quaint little spot, sitting at the intersection of the pathways to all the regions of the Far Territories. It's a small little abandoned train station in the middle of a super small little region. Although Transfer Pass is technically its own full region, it's so small that we're going to be treating it as a transition region for the purposes of this tier list and only give it this one spot. While this is a very homey and cozy little spot, it unfortunately struggles quite a bit when held up against scrutiny. Direct resource availability is pretty rough. Initially, you'll be able to find plenty of cattails and acorns to give yourself some food for a little bit, but after that, the only place you'll find any supplies is inside the depot itself, and maybe in the colloider nearby. Once that's run out, you're going to need to travel to other regions to find any more supplies. Replenishable food is also a problem, because you'll only have access to some rabbits, ptarmigans, and if you're lucky, you may occasionally find a deer or two. Due to the fact that you can't really survive here unless you bring an abundance of supplies with you when you set it up, the depot will be getting a 2 for direct resource availability. Indoor utilities isn't fantastic here either. The space is very small, even smaller than the lookout tower. On top of that, it also has no bed. There are some upsides though. It does have a fireplace with 2 cooking slots, and several suitcases that you can use for initial storage. Plus the little bonus that it does have a trading radio inside. It'll get some points for having some decent initial storage, plus the fireplace and the inside radio, but it's not going to get it above a 5. World location is also going to be kind of a yikes here. While quite literally the closest to the main Far Territory regions you can get without literally being in them, it also is as far away as you can get from everywhere else on Great Bear. Unless of course you were in the Far Territories. Basing here will force you to make lengthy trips to achieve anything that isn't in the Far Territories themselves. It won't quite get a 1 because it is right at the Far Territories and that is nice, but it's not going to get any higher than a 2. Our sad little trend is going to unfortunately continue with crafting accessibility. Due to being so far away from Lower Great Bear, it's also incredibly far away from any milling machines, ammo workbenches, and the trader. To reach the nearest milling machine or ammo workbench, you have to leave Transfer Pass, head through the branch line, then through Broken Railroad, into Forlorn Muskeg, then take the transfer from there into Bleak Inlet, and then once you're in Bleak Inlet, you have to make your way to the cannery, and that's assuming that you've already taken the route through Mystery Lake into the ravine down towards the upper plateau of Bleak Inlet so that you can get the code for the cannery door. If you think that's bad, it's even farther from the trader. The location itself lacks a workbench, with the nearest one being in the Hangar in Forsaken Airfield, along with a forge. You may think, oh, well at least there's a forge only one region away, but no. Because the pathway into Forsaken Airfield and back is very long, the depot will be getting a 1, meaning that the final tally is a 10, landing it as our lowest safe house in our first D tier. Up next is the Hangar in Forsaken Airfield. A massive industrial space full of planes, helicopters, and a lot of tools located in the middle of a valley that's constantly battered by vicious weather. This place is not for the faint of heart, but for those who can handle it, there are quite a few convenient features. There's a lot of supplies to be had in the hangar itself and surrounding airport buildings, but the rest of Forsaken Airfield is pretty barren, with only a couple of locations containing any worthwhile loot. Due to the sheer influx of supplies that the airport buildings offer, the hangar is going to get a 7 in direct resource availability. You'll find decent clothing, food, and tools, but it's not going to last you long, and you'll have to venture out of the region soon if you want to stay sustainable. The hangar has 2 floors of rooms and a massive open space in the middle. There are more lockers, drawers, and containers than you'll know what to do with, as well as plenty of space for customization throughout the many rooms. There is a bed inside the hangar, but the only cooking slot is on top of the forge in the basement. Due to the shortage of cooking slots, the hangar's only going to get an 8 for indoor utilities. But other than that, this place has everything you're going to want inside. World location is easy to explain. It's even worse than the Vacant Depot, as it's even more detached from Lower Great Bear. It may be right in the Far Territories, but that's not going to save it from getting a 1 due to being so disconnected from everything else on the island. Now, the silver lining for being in such a remote location is living in the same building as not only a workbench, but also a forge. That being said, it's also incredibly far away from any milling machines, trading, or ammunition workbenches. Having the 2 main crafting stations you're going to need so directly accessible will put the hangar at a 5 for crafting accessibility, but no higher due to being so far away from trading and other crafting stations. The final tally is 21, landing it right behind the Mountaineer's Hut in C tier. Thompson's Crossings Community Hall. This place is very cute. A stage, bathroom, office, and kitchen help give the center a very good variety in scenery. It's in the corner of Pleasant Valley near the transition mine into Coastal Highway, and has a small town with a couple resource-filled houses and a gas station that's full of supplies and food that's just across the street. Having such abundant supplies right directly around the location, as well as being in Pleasant Valley, which is a very resource-rich region, means that the community hall scores an easy 10 in direct resource availability. It also has plentiful indoor utilities, a 2-slot cooking fireplace, and a 6-slot stove, plus dozens of cabinets and drawers in the kitchen area for storage already makes this place look very enticing. But we aren't done yet. There are also several beds all over the floor of the main room, and more space for customization than you could possibly dream of. This place is ripe for the decorating and has all the utilities you're gonna need. It'll get a 10 for indoor utilities. World location is also very good, and we'll use the farmhouse as a reference. The farmhouse got a 7, and so will the community hall. Good access to Timberwolf Mountain, Ash Canyon, and Black Rock, a super close transition into Coastal Highway, and a fairly close route into Mystery Lake. Its main downside is having longer journeys to access the western regions of Lower Great Bear and the far territories. Crafting accessibility is going to be the weakest for this spot. Unlike the farmhouse, which got a 7 in crafting accessibility, the community hall doesn't have a workbench inside, with the nearest one being in the barn, so it's going to get bumped down to a 5. The crafting stations you need are all fairly close by, but you'll have to walk to get to all of them. Our final score for the community hall is 32, putting it at a tie with the Grey Mother's house. But we're going to put the hall above it because of its closer proximity to the trader and more central location on the island. Now we're going to talk about the Forlorn Muskeg Bunker, which we're going to assume is unstocked for this rating. The place is tucked right up against the border of the region, but being out on top of a small incline, it provides a decent view of the frozen swamp when poking your head out of the bunker's hatch. The bunker itself will have little to no supplies inside, but it's located near the Old Spence family homestead, where you'll be able to find some tools, clothing, and food. The abundant cattails in the region will also help keep you fed for a little bit longer, but that's not going to last forever. Since supplies in the Muskeg are so few and far between, anyone basing in the bunker will be struggling to find sustainability unless they bring a lot of supplies with them. So direct resource availability is going to be a 3 here. Indoor utilities aren't great either. The bunker is not very large, but does provide some flexibility for customization. There is a bed, but no cooking slots, and there will be only 1, if any, containers for storage. Since the only fundamental utility that the bunker has is a bed, it won't be scoring more than a 2 for indoor utilities. The bunker can crawl out of the death zone for a bit though with world location, as it'll be getting a beautifully average score. It is fairly close to the far territories, and has access to Bleak Inlet, Mystery Lake, Mountain Town, and Broken Railroad, and it's only a 2-region journey to reach the trader. Could be better, could be worse, so it's gonna get a 7. Now crafting accessibility is actually very good. The Spence homestead is only a hop, skip, and a jump away and provides a forge and workbench. Plus, just a short walk away from that is the transition into Bleak Inlet, where you'll find a milling machine and ammo workbench. There may be no crafting stations inside the bunker itself, but since it's right next to the most important ones, and very close to the others, it's going to get a 10 in crafting availability. You're going to have a really hard time finding any safe house that has as balanced of crafting availability as this one. So, the final count for this bunker is 22 points, putting it right between the Hangar and Mountaineer's Hut in the C tier. Alrighty guys, time for today's silly entry, the tail section in Timberwolf Mountain. This stunning location has a view that can't be beat. Wonderful free AC courtesy of Mother Nature, and very fashionable containers all over. It really embraces a new form of modernism by foregoing having both a door and a 4th wall. This is quite the luxury spot for anyone who is lucky enough to land themselves here. Direct resource availability is actually pretty darn good as long as you have a hacksaw to open up all the containers. The only problem is getting more once you run out. The crazy influx of supplies you get from these cargo containers will get this spot to a 6, but no higher since it'll be a pain to get any other supplies and return once you run out. How about indoor utilities? Well, the cargo containers give you plenty of storage space, and you can place a fire anywhere you want inside the tail section. Unfortunately, there is no bed in this abode, and as a side effect of the beautiful modernist take on this lovely house, you won't be able to do any safe house customization. But hey, storage and fires wherever you want, that's all you really need. I feel like this spot should get a 10. No, why does it say 3? Okay, yeah, I guess that's fair. World location. Well, we gave the Mountaineer's Hut a 2, and the tail section requires a minimum of 2 rope climbs to get anywhere else, so it's a 1. Crafting accessibility, well, Mountaineers got a 7, but that had a workbench inside, and was only 1 rope climb away from the transition into Black Rock, And the rope climbs from the summit of the mountain, pretty much guaranteed that you're going to have to sleep afterwards. Plus, even if you goat down and try to forego having to climb down, you'll still have to climb back up. I really don't think I can give the tail section more than a 1 here, honestly. Especially because even if you wanted to make a workbench with Safehouse customization, you can't even do it here. But hey, all in all, this pristine property achieved an 11. So, just barely being able to scrape above the Vacant Depot and secure a spot at the very bottom of C tier. Honestly, if it wasn't for the cargo containers, this would have been our first F, 100%. Alright, that's it for today, my friends. Let me know what silly location you want me to do next, and I'll pick my favorite among them to rank in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then consider dropping a like. It really helps out the channel. If you're interested in seeing some gameplay videos from me, then go check out my gameplay channel. The link will be in the description, and we'll be starting a new 100-day series soon. If you want to support me in my YouTube journey a little bit more directly, then consider becoming a member. There aren't very many perks right now, aside from a couple emotes in my stream chats, but I hope to be able to bring more to you guys in the future. If you want to see more videos from me, then grab the nearest fish and slap that subscribe button with it. You guys are all amazing, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.